generation needs a revolution, Jimmy. The American dream is just that. Just a dream. War is a continuation of politics, only by other means. Politics is a continuation of economics by other means. This is our bank. This is our war. And this is our plan of attack.
Banks have become an essential threat to our democracy. So consider this justice.
Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the internet. Please help support this station so this battle can continue forward. Revolution Radio! The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Insanity runs in my family. Practically gallops.
No stems, no seeds that you don't need. Acapulco Gold is.
This is the most acid I've ever seen anybody eat in my life. Wow, man.
Fire it up, boy!
Why don't you get a job, Spicoli?
What for?
You need money.
All I need are some tasty waves, cool buzz, and I'm fine.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in to Revolution Radio. And now it's time for that feral hippie herself, an infotartic, esoteric, eclectic mix of the adventures of that feral hippie, Miss Mona Radler.
What are you people? On dope?
That was my skull! I'm so wasted!
Make a move and the bunny gets it.
Dave's not here.
All right, Mona, it's all yours. Take it away.
2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the 19th of April, 2018. We are here. You know where we're at. freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, and Haggy Shack. Remember, we're listener supported, so go and do the donate click. The donate click, the donate click. Seed packs, archives, swag store. I really could use a hat and a t-shirt. I would advertise for this station, heck yeah. So, Thursday. Isn't it Thursday? So many things have acquired themselves and gone on. And it all comes sometimes so fast and then so very, very slow. Many things are coming to light, as per se, because winter here in North Carolina, anyway, has become more spring. But in Wisconsin, they're actually putting out warnings because birds are coming to the humans asking for help because they have like 32 inches of still hard-packed snow on the ground. And the birds believe it should be spring. Have a box ready with a towel in the bottom, and if you catch a bird or two, not catch them because you're not chasing them, they're coming right to you. Put them in the box, keep them warm. If you have a heating pad, put it on just a small area of the box, not the whole box, because then the bird can acclimate, you know what I mean. And they're trying to save the birds. What kind of cluster F is that? I just don't get it. I really just don't get it. And then I had this certain kind of wasp. Of course, I had my discs in my hand, so there's a little sugar and other nummies that maybe I thought it was wanting, going for. So I broke off a little piece for it. Nope, it didn't want it. It literally walked around my hand for a half of an hour till I finally had to push it off. Go on, baby, go on. Otherwise, because I wouldn't hurt it. No, he was beautiful. Black with the most amazing markings ever. Oh, I just love life and all its little creatures. There's no fear. It's all part of why we're here. And when you can really honor the simple little things, like my friend downstairs said, the other day I was sitting in my garden and darned if I didn't find a little baby walking stick or praying mantis. And we had a conversation. I'm like, oh, there's others out there. I'm so excited. There's others out there that really know that what we give we'll receive. And they're here to work in our favor. Not to be rounded up, not to be stepped on, fly swatted, and all these other things. These creatures are here for a reason. So when I see a snail slime, I'm like, oh boy. Because I know at least some bird might get it. You know, it was all a delicate system that really is showing that is broken. I know Michigan's getting weird weather too. All those northern states. Oh, but it's just a normal jet stream kind of thing? Yeah, I don't think so. Or are we going through mini ice ages? And that's just the temperate zone that it's gotten to so far. Who knows? I don't have my hand on that dial. So I can't calculate to tell you what it is, but for what I'm seeing, because a lot of people really want winter over. Well, of course, it's April. We always want winter over. Come on, because we want summer over. But how about just appreciating what it is? Yeah, it's going down in the 30s. Possibly below freezing here tonight. But it's right now 70-some degrees. Now that's a big-ass dip. Used to be a 20-degree dip. Now it's 40. What the hey is that all about? Oh, but it'll brighten up. And then the sun, if it used to feel nice. Now you feel attacked. So you really don't even want to go out into the sun, even though you want to get warm because it's been so cold. But then again, hasn't it been colder? So we have to try not to belly ache around things that are happening. Just be aware to the point where you can alter where, or what, or how, or when you do your activities. Simple. Yeah, because sometimes you just got to put up with the stuff. I mean, that's just the way life goes. Just put up with it. Like the food I ate last night. Oh my gosh, it was definitely diner food. Okay, you get my drift. Diner food. Oh, Lenny shared a photo. I want to know, Jer Bear, that doesn't look like real bacon to me, man. That really looks gross, actually. What's on the page? Looks like someone threw caution to the wind. Oh. That's funny. Oh, okay. Before I came on the show, and as I'm waiting to get on, I see John Storm's name pop up into the Skype thing. Oh, look, John just came on. Let me check on John. Well, Mr. John Storm should be, basically in his own words, he should have died by now. He's been under within the last, I don't know, length of time. I'm going to place it like a week almost. Pneumonia, sugar diabetic coma, and they just found out he now has leukemia. So whoever knows who John Storm is, the most railroaded man ever. MK Ultra and all kinds of things. The strong man. Oh, Mr. John. Everybody send him a hug. Everybody send him some just good old unconditional love, because he was one of the first ones to come out and say, hey, y'all, we've been foobarred. People have been raised to become fighting machines. How many have become to be loving machines and not the sex kind? Huh? And do we get the drift of the takeover of what programming this society has manifested? Well, this man can make you know it. He looked well. He didn't look like John anymore. His body looked battered and torn, and I really just wanted to hug him. And he doesn't have any shungite, so I got to do a shungite thing. I really got to figure out a way to get the shungite to these warriors. Oh, gosh, just for the leukemia. I bet that would change just from it being in his water. Oh, but they designated all this when they were babies. Some of these warriors get this done to them in NATO, you know what I mean? You know, before they're birthed. How can such, it's just, very sad that we're just pieces of whatever. Now I can see that, okay, we're just pieces of whatever, because that's the way it goes. Yeah, we're pieces of this, that, and the other thing. But it's all in a together package. So, let's see. No, I don't. Okay. I do not. Okay. Do not have the contact. Okay. O-N-T-A-C-T. Yes, it's a splurge of the moment, because that's what business does. It's live radio. Yes, indeedy it is. So please don't forget to send John some extra TLC. He's done this for us, just to let the cats out of the bag. To try to do, he's got so many books, you could probably Amazon, but he probably wouldn't get paid for his books. He might have put them out there for free anyway, because that's the kind of guy he is. But, oh my goodness. What, because there was one day that if it wasn't for somebody, like, making sure we had notions of what was going on with John, but he supposedly had found a very safe place. So, good thing they got him to the hospital in time. But he had like 7 bracelets on, wrist bracelets, IVs. He doesn't look like John as we know it. It's just, we got to send him some love. He's had so much hate and damage that he just needs some good old love, people. But send that man some love. And Billy Hayes, too. Oh, my gosh. What happened with Billy Hayes? He's another altered one. Pardon me, Billy, if you're listening. Him, too, is in the hospital. But John gets out on Saturday, so at least they're working on him getting out on Saturday. So that's cool. He sounded great. He sounded really good. But he had tests and doctors and everything else happening right now, so he just couldn't come on. But he sounded good. He looked like we're all going to look one day soon, if all this keeps going. Because I'm thinking the EMFs, oh my gosh, no wonder. That's, to me, part of the reason why there would be leukemia. Let's get the blood going right. What's the blood holding? Water. Let's get the shungite in the water for him. Somehow, some way, I'm determined. Him and Grandpa Peter Coyote. God, I just love all these men. I need a big old funds. Big funds. Yeah, the shed thing kind of went sideways. But that's okay. We'll see what happens, because Mercury is going direct. So the ideals were planted, and we'll see what happens. I at least got one stitch of the leg 99% completed. So I feel so relieved about that. But everything's still up in the air. I have no clue. And that's okay. I'm just processing what I can, fixing up the basil plant so we can get good and strong for when Mother's Day finally does come, because that's supposed to be the time you set out your tenders. The tenders. And then try to get some seeds started and tend to the other plants. My ginkgos have popped. They think it's spring. So when the ginkgo biloba pops, they both got to go in one pot because I can't keep carrying them in two. Because you never know. Lost my bay tree, though. That's really kind of sad because bay is what helped keep the lightning away. But it was too stressed. It wasn't tended to because I didn't have the ways and means to tend to it. So I can't feel too guilty about it or anything. I just have to go, okay, it is what it is, whatever. And other occurrences of those natures. I give a homage, though. I just really do appreciate how many blessings that are continually to happen. Of course, it's not the process. Part of the changing, part of the idealism is, hey, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And it's working out really well. And it's just, I wish more people knew about it. I wish more people used the idea that, if I make something good and happy, then something good and happy is going to happen for me. And you can't be disappointed if it's like not right away, because the universe kind of might be waiting for a couple extra and make it one big happy time. Not a bunch of little ones, but I like the little ones too. Yeah, one big happy one, big lump sum cash. Here, go buy a house, Mona, thanks. Oh, can I have well water on it too? That's the one thing I appreciate being here is the well water. Oh my gosh. No fluoride, no chlorine, no caca in it except for what the earth has given me. And I think I appreciate that. In fact, I don't think it, I know it. That I appreciate that more than so many other things. Because life is still going on. But I did think because we're on the top of the mountain. Those are pretty long pipes. Even though we had like 6 inches of rain the other day, it makes me wonder with all the things that are in it, if it's actually filtering and doing its rightful journey that I was taught on getting filtered and fortified and other things like that. Because these mountains are special. These mountains here are amazing, actually. Yep, I'm so happy to see the insects and the birds, and that we don't have snow, like Wisconsin and Michigan. Boy, what a cluster it is. I wonder how Maine and them are doing, because they're probably getting the brunt of it too. What does this make, number 7 nor'easter? Like one every week? Honestly. I do remember, though, that way back when, probably the 80s, that New York was covered in like feet up to the roofs in snow at one time. Now, I can't tell you if that was the fluffy or the wet. Boy, that could have created a whole bunch of clusters. But some people live in snow, so hey! But I really do think we're in some kind of wobble. Yes, I kind of like do that. Another video I heard is somebody says there's a mountain growing in the Pacific Ocean. Now, what would that mean? It's not just a volcano, it's a mountain that they said, and that the Navy and them know, but they're not saying anything about it. Well, of course not. I bet you Google knows, so I wonder if you could check a Google map. But who knows how old those maps are? God, that just makes me think of all the space junk and debris up there. Has any corporation thought about going up there and collecting it and bringing it back down and recycling? No, we're going to leave all the trash in the atmosphere. F it! Like everything else that's on this planet commercialized being done. Like there's nothing positive that we can actually do to change the system. There's all kinds of things we can do to change the systems. We can be more copacetic to try to maintain at least a semblance of responsibility of cause and effect. Because you did this, there's going to be this effect, which creates another action-reaction. So we have to really think about our footprints here on this planet. I'm so always happy when I use my homemade Miss Karen blend laundry soap. Because I know it's not going to go out there and harm the septic tank or anything else in it. And to me, that's the best blessing I can do when I do laundry. Is make darn good and sure that we have the basics being able to be shared. Oh, yes, okay, I get that. I see. Oh. Oh, lots of drudgery. U.S. debt loaded ballooning set to outpace something. Well, it's not my spending. It's some military-industrial complex's spending. Not mine. Look at the tumors on those fish. Now, see, I don't eat fish. So people have to really know that what they might be thinking that they're eating, it might not be so right for you. Unless you like your carcinogens like that. Your Fukushima tumors. There you go. Enjoy your dinner. It's like when I see these shrimp and they're still in the peel. I'm like, well, there's at least something that, but I don't eat them. Oh, heck no. Anywhere I see those packages or that shrimp going somewhere, I wipe it down with vinegar. I want to make sure I'm not carrying any of the yuck with me, because there's not too many places that I really trust that the oceans are habitable to live in healthfully. And the land either, even though that's what I'm trying to do, is help change the system. So I was out playing with my dirt and putting in some basil, at least in pots now, because I won't put it outside because it's going down past below 30. Oh, I sure don't want that energy and effort to get overrun by cold. So right now it's safely on the porch and it will be okay for a little while. It gets good, bright, indirect sunlight, so it'll be happy. A little elongated, but that's okay. I let it sit too much outside and you get sunburned. But I know it'll grow back. When I had my herb store, there was planters out front of the stores. So I planted big old basil. Well, now basil is supposedly an annual, which means it only grows 4 months. But if you keep pinching the flowers off, it'll last a lot longer. So, now basil gets woody early. So it's a pretty hardy structure with the wood. But if you need to use like 2 cups of compressed basil to make pesto, right? You want 2 or 3 plants. Well, when I left my herb store, I found out a woman, because it turned into a perennial. A woman would go back how many times through the years to harvest her basil for her pesto from my basil that I had in the planter, because nobody took it out. I'm sure it's self-seeded, but it decided to go against the law of what man says was natural. Because I had learned it from books that supposedly you can't plant this plant together and that plant together, but when I did, they were happy as heck. Yeah, I like to go against the usual rules just to see if they were right. But I have a special talent for growing things that a lot of people just didn't have. Even my competitors with my horticulture. How'd you do that? Well, I did this and that. Because they were all learned. Remember that. They were all learned. I learned from experience to know the difference. Not to say that I didn't investigate it and to study it and to see what they were following. But there's a whole different structure with nurturing than there is just for commercial tendering. For that mighty dollar, send us them dollars. Come on, do it now.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
What the heck is the Truth Jihad? Hey, I'm Kevin Barrett, host of Truth Jihad Radio. Federal prosecutors, Department of Homeland Security agents, and curious passersby often ask me, just what is this Truth Jihad thing anyway? Well, everybody knows what truth is, but jihad is a misunderstood term. Jihad means effort or struggle. The greater jihad is the struggle to be a better person, while the lesser jihad is the struggle to defend the community. Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, did say that the best jihad is a word of truth flung in the face of a tyrant. And that's what we do here at Truth Jihad Radio. Every Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 7 Pacific, right here on Revolution Radio.
We talk about decentralization and bank annihilation. Bitcoin, Litecoin, MyCoin, Your Coin, blockchain, baby. Mondays at 1600 hours Eastern, Studio A.
Find some comfort at Willow's World. A variety of news, commentary and poetry at Willow's Poetry Corner, where there are comfy cushions and a tempting selection of delectable comestibles. A show that's quirkily and quintessentially British, with a unique twist featuring Willow Andreasen, your host. Join Willow, Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. EST, Studio B.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Oh my, welcome back. Whoa, what's that? Oh, whoa. Let's see. Yes, you're back. We're back. Let's see. That's so funny. Oh, goodness. I thought it was Monday, right? Uh-huh. Yep. Let's see what happens. Alrighty. Mm-hmm. Let's fight decision fatigue. Just go for it. Right? All kinds of things. I mean, what would really stop you? Anything besides our own thoughts? Our own misagenda? Because the universe has always given us opportunities to grow, to become more than what we are here right now. Maybe a lot of people just get set in their ways and they don't know how to break free of being unset. It's not always that easy. Nope, it's not always easy. But you know what? If you really have the intent and you try to look for finding out how, then life can be something that is more than what you could ever envision. A lot of it's appreciating. A lot of things are just not taking life so personal. The more decisions we make, the worse we get at making them. Oh yeah, well, maybe not. Here's some practical strategies for battling decision fatigue. I don't know why they put it twice, but that's all right. Don't try to be superhuman. Ever feel like we have to be superhuman to live well? We should always get the best value for our dollar, eat the healthiest foods, say and do all the right things in our relationships, make the best business decisions, and put our time to the best use. Oh yeah, okay, right. Frankly, that could be exhausting, trying to live life to its fullest. Jeez, yeah, right. Expectations. Okay, am I hearing my own typing? Yeah, one way to help somebody make up their mind. Oh, okay, that's cool. What else are you typing? Okay. See, I didn't have to make a decision. I just did it. Are we overwhelmed by options? We get tired, we get frustrated, and sometimes we're so overwhelmed by options we can't make a decision at all. I know that feeling. In fact, the more decisions we make, the worse we seem to be making at them. Okay, beam you up. Well, we're going to do this and see what happens. Buzz. Bzz.
Hey there, Mona.
Well, hey, Bridgette.
What is happening, girl?
I was just reading an article about how so many times we try to make decisions and we just don't. And then when we try to, it seems to get harder and harder. Is that?
Yeah.
We're not using enough critical thinking? What?
No, I think, one of the things I've been discovering lately, because I deal a lot with the brain, I do traditional osteopath medicine, which, activates whole brain and gets people in their whole brain so that their bodies, can overcome, their brain can actually start to have a relationship with the body again and heal it. So one of the things that I've been noticing a lot is that people write a lot of notes, people do a lot of hoarding, people do a lot of shopping, and they get kind of addicted. They get addicted to their whatever they're doing at that time, because I think it's really the only thing they're capable of doing. And it's so repetitive that they just continue to do it. So I think it's hard to get out of the thinking. And I think we make things nice in this world because of Christian beliefs, when the fact is this is a horrible place to live.
Sure seems that way, doesn't it?
Well, and everybody has major post-traumatic stress disorder, even in the U.S. And I think, it's hard to decide. I used to hold war, post-traumatic stress disorder at the very top. Then, like sexual, physical, mental, emotional abuse kind of, in between, and then, down the line. But I'm starting to think, a lot of the training and the patterning that goes into what our lives are supposed to be. I mean, we spend 30 years of our life paying a mortgage.
I know, right?
And so the average lifespan right now in the U.S. is something like 65 years of age. A CEO lives till about 60. Almost every McDonald's CEO has died at like age 60. But yet we still have this post-traumatic stress disorder where we have to look like everybody else, and we have to have a house, and we have to keep it clean, and we have to do all these things. And then we just get in a repetitive pattern of these are the things that we do. And I think it's difficult, or if not impossible, to like see out of that, because I think people are just trying to hold it together.
Well, it's by expectations also of what the parents were taught. And we're allowed to forgive the ones that trained us and do our own stuff instead of the habitual, traditional BS.
Right, but the thing is that once the parents did it and they had the training done to them, then when they have offspring, it's part of our genetic code.
Right.
So it becomes hereditary. And then...
Whoa.
Do you see? So the thing is, like, it's not as easy as people think, to wake up or to get well or, to expand their consciousness. That just doesn't work. And now you have the 5G, which is, all this fifth dimensional channel bull crappy, because we're sold so much propaganda. They just make stuff up and then throw it out.
Right.
And then people bite on it.
Sounds
and then
like the New Age stuff.
Yeah, and people think they're channeling, the galactic beings and all this other stuff. And I'm not saying that some people maybe not, may have special friends. I got some special friends. But the thing is the 5G and the 4G leading up to it, and all the chemical, the metal that's in our bodies as antennas, they can actually input anything into the system right now. And then we think that it's like fifth dimension. We're moving to the fifth dimension when we can't even wake up from our hereditary patterning.
Right. Yeah, it's like blue beam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a trip. Sometimes when I do a reboot, I call it a reboot. It's a technique that I learned that goes back, to like Korea. Like, it's a very old thing. It actually reboots both hemispheres, aligns them, and then reconnects them to the body and the whole electrical system and the energy field and all this other stuff. I liken it to what, Don Juan was doing to Carlo Castaneda when he moved his assemblage point by, socking him basically in the back.
Well, they do that with Tai Chi called push hands, and they don't even have to touch the person.
Yeah, so the thing is that even when, I apply something like this and I radically change the position of where the person was stuck into like a more right brain perspective so that they can actually heal, they can have like spontaneous healing in those few hours, because they're always going to go back to their old patterning. You have to just keep pulling them out of their own patterning, because changing DNA is a lot harder than people think, or changing the RNA is a lot harder than people think.
Well, that's where repeated comes in handy.
Yeah, but people will have the weirdest experiences. So every time I reboot somebody, it affects them mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, but they will notice it just on one level. But the people who have the kind of the psychic experiences will trip out because, for example, I had a client who is kind of a bad guy. And I don't work on him anymore. And he probably has been involved with a lot of like bad motorcycle gang activity in his life. He's older. So when I worked on him, it shifted him in a way where he was laying on the table and he saw himself floating over him. And what he saw was a ghoul. That's how he explained it. And it terrified him. But this is his true self interacting with himself.
Or they're reflective of what others are also seeing in him.
No, because he acts pretty normal. You know what I mean? He's like a big, contractor guy. You know what I mean? He looks like he, from the outside, hasn't it?
So his shadow side.
Yeah, so the self that he's operating in, right? The part of himself that he's directing more energy into, which is, staying alive, survival of the fittest, stepping on the backs of other people. It's all about the money. So these are things that sometimes, people have a hard time, dealing with about themselves. So it makes it impossible for them to critically think. You have to have a desire to want to be something different.
And especially if it turns on them, because we all get what we give.
Well, I don't know, I'm not so sure about the whole karmic thing, because there has to be guilt. Right?
What do you mean?
Well, the person has to feel guilty about
there's all
something.
kinds of narcissistic psychopaths out there. Where would you
but they don't feel guilty about anything that they do. They actually feel like it was the right thing. So that energy doesn't come back to them if they don't have a gateway for that energy to come back to. I mean,
right. Like attracts like. It's all a magnetism of sorts.
Yeah. So the thing is like,
so something could come back to them. That would be a negative of what and how they've behaved, and they can't see it in themselves. So they blame the other thing when it's what they called to them.
But there's also the 3 strike pattern is what I call it, that the spirit world gives you to wake you up, your ancestors. And the first time maybe like some kind of warning, like you see the ghoul self. Or you have some kind of, experience that leads you to think maybe I should change, or maybe there's something else out there, or maybe I should change my diet, or, I mean, think about it. Whether you're a narcissistic psychopath or you're a person that perpetually eats tons of meat so that all these animals are suffering and poisoned and whatever and put into our supermarket shelves, without any consciousness is, to me, the same.
Very sad.
You know what I mean? So the thing is, like, it just depends on where you're at and what level of, consciousness you're operating in. And so the spirit world, usually the third one, they take you out. Or they severely, maim you in a way that it makes it impossible. But this is a great story. I love to tell people this story. In the Cherokee way, there's a story. See, that Native people are, I'm not speaking for all Native people, so don't everybody get their panties in uproar. I'm speaking like of teachings that I've been given by my Native teachers and about this world and this planet, about what it was in the beginning. In the beginning, everything came here from other worlds to participate with each other in a conscious, co-creation. But it was a library that was started for all the benefit of all, universal, multidimensional, whatever. Everything was going to be laid here, so people had contact with it and could utilize it in a good way. And so right about the period where, the white people really start to come into America and they really start to destroy, kill, burn, rape, molest, destroy. The deer and the bear had a serious problem with what the white people and people who were not living in a conscious perspective with the earth, the mother, and all the living beings. So the deer and the bear went to the council, the great council, which is the ancestors, they're the elders who know about everything and who designed the original contracts for all beings to come here from all their different worlds. So when they went to the council, they said, hey, look, we, made a deal with the native original peoples of the earth that we would, be hospitable and they could eat us and use us as long as they didn't use us too much, right? As long as they didn't harm us or destroy us. And so in Native American culture, there are ceremonies where, they go and do the ceremonies, and they wait for the animal who chooses itself to come forward. And anybody that has owned buffaloes naturally will tell you this, that one will come forward. If you ask them as a group that, they have to do a slaughter, they have to feed people, they let them know in a nice sacred way. They'll always tell you that there'll be one buffalo that'll come all the way from the herd and to give his life for, not to be taken advantage of and take too much.
Chased.
Well,
chased and slaughtered, yeah, right?
And having all of his other brothers slaughtered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's making a sacrifice for the benefit of all, right?
Okay.
So anyway, so what happened was with the deer and the bear is that the white people were really like shooting the crap. I mean, look at what the white military did to all the buffalo. I mean, there was huge piles of buffalo carcasses and bones because they just didn't want to have the native people have them.
Right, I don't doubt that.
That they just murdered and slaughtered millions and millions of buffaloes, I mean, just waste and bloodshed and murder.
Yeah.
So in this story, the deer and the bear, they go to the ancestors, the council, and they say, look, we are not going to participate in what's going on now because we're being taken advantage of. We're not being listened to as an equal. We don't have a partnership with the people. The white people have come in and they're really destroying us. And they're not listening. They're not walking in a sacred way. We have things to teach them. They're not listening. And so basically the ancestors or the council said, well, what do you want to do? The council said, well, you still have to be there, because you still have a contract. You can't leave this world yet. So they said, all right, fine, then we'll do it ourselves. So the deer said, we curse the whites, the white race with rheumatism. And basically, in the Cherokee way, it's a disease that keeps them from being able to walk forward, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what rheumatoidism is, it's pain, it's degenerative muscle and bone disease, viruses that move into the joints and start to eat and deteriorate the cartilage and the bones. So basically the deer and bear cursed the white people with rheumatoid diseases so that they wouldn't be able to walk very far to be able to pick up a gun and shoot them.
Whoa. Now they get Lyme disease.
Yeah. So you can see...
because the meat is poison.
Yeah. So you can see nowadays, how that's kind of playing out. And has anybody learned their lesson? No.
I just don't eat meat.
I know, I don't eat meat either. Unless it's from a farm friend of mine and they make a nice dinner or whatever,
Right.
But it has to be, pretty conscious. And I don't eat dairy at all.
Right.
Because, there's just no way to get clean dairy unless you have your own animals.
Exactly.
And you know exactly what every little morsel they put in their mouth. And they have sunshine and they dance around and they're happy, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
I mean, people waste something like 40%. I was reading, this was a couple of years ago, 40% of all garbage in landfills in America is meat that is still in the package.
Ugh.
That people haven't even honored to eat. That this animal was murdered,
Right.
for their benefit. And they treat the meat, the life of this animal, like it's nothing.
If they knew what happened and how they created dog food by using live baby chicks, they would freak.
Well, that's the thing is, unless you get into farming, the more I started getting into growing food and, when I was at Rudolph Steiner College in Sac for biodynamic farming, they didn't hold back. I mean, in your classes and courses, you got to see the bad, the good, the ugly, the positive, because they really needed you to make sure that you had all the information
Right.
to make sure that this is work you really want to do because it's serious work.
Or to get swayed because of profits like everybody else already has.
Well, the thing with organic farming, you can't really get swayed with profits because, you know.
No, but they could try to change your mind to persuade you with profits. Yes, I know that they license and fee and categorize flipping organic places, and they shouldn't.
Well, and you know, the one thing that we have in biodynamic farming, different than everybody else, is we have the international organic certification, which is not like anywhere else in the world. You know, there are places like France.
If it's international, it means the world, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, America separates itself from international.
Everything, right?
So, you know, they ban Monsanto's in 17 countries, but the U.S. is like, oh no, they're still good. They're still okay. We're good.
Every time I walk by a place that has Roundup going on, I said, I wonder how people like destroying their future by using this product.
Or, you know what you should say is, how do you like getting cancer from using that product?
I really wish I could. But I'm usually fast on my feet. In case, you know, hey, gotta be more, ready for that exit. No, always where all exits are.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat. I'm really careful about my environment. I don't take my dog to parks around Reno that much anymore because, you know, this time of year they start to spray fertilizers on the grass.
Right.
Which is Monsanto's product. And they'll start to spray all the trees.
Are you sure it's not Bayer? Oh, pardon me.
Well, they're the same, really.
I know, but not everybody would actually have that conscious mindset. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think Amazon, you know, now is Amazon, Bayer, Monsanto's. They're all like, and then they dragged Whole Foods in so that they can control, you know, organic, you know, whatever, the mainstream organic stuff. And, you know, this is the thing. Whole Foods had way more responsibility. Did you know that they're one of the only alternative companies that ever made it to the Fortune 100 or the Fortune 500 list? They made it to the Fortune 500 list. And they were the only ones that ever did it. So they had like this huge obligation to do the right thing because they were the only alternative company that ever made it. And they totally sold out.
Well, they probably didn't have a choice. Family members were probably being threatened and murdered.
Well, but that's when you stand your ground the most. I mean, you know.
I would think so, but.
Yeah, that's when I'd stand my ground the most because, you know, you can't bow down to that kind of crap. I mean, the thing is people are so afraid in America about their life. It's like, you know, well, if life is so valuable, then why do you allow them to do what you do to commercial animals?
Or to everything.
Yeah. I mean, your life, to give your life for something, I mean, anything.
Better than war, you know, some battle that military-industrial complex is challenging. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, so but I'm like you. I try not to eat anything that feeds the corporate money machine.
Yeah.
You know, with all of their crimes, and I try really hard to. I mean, I try to find everything at like Goodwill. Like I buy all my clothes. I don't buy underwears and bras, but I buy pretty much everything else at Goodwill. I buy all my pots and pans. I buy everything.
Right.
I'm not going to spend money and
but no Teflon, right?
Oh, hell no. Yeah. No, hell no. Yeah, no, then that's the thing is sometimes at Goodwill, you know, I've got to go there and look. It takes a little bit more time, but I can find full cast, you know, steel pots, you know, like older ones that have lids and stuff. And when I do come across them, I save them in storage because they're so hard to come across.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I've got a stockpile of them in case, you know, the handle falls off on one I have. And then I can, you know, get in there and get it. Or cast iron is pretty good too. But you have to, like, be more natural to own cast iron. You know, you don't wash cast iron with soap. You just take a natural brush and scrape out the stuff and, you know, rinse it a little bit so it still has all of its oils in there and then, you know, fire it on the stove.
In Florida, we used to use moss to clean it.
Yeah, I mean, even
Spanish moss.
Even better, but people get cast iron, and why it doesn't work for them is they wash it with soap and water,
right,
and then it rusts. And the other thing, too, it's porous. You never want to put anything but water on a cast iron or oil, to keep it so it doesn't stick as much. You have to season them.
Right. That's what I was thinking. But I used to season mine in the oven, not on top of the stove.
Yeah, it's way better that way. And the thing is, you can use a cast iron pan for everything. Like anything you want to cook in the stove, on the barbecue, on the top of the stove. You just have a lid. I mean, they're awesome. Like you can make anything in them. Enchiladas or, frittatas, quiche.
I just wish I had the strength to carry it. Honestly, I can't even really carry a half a gallon of anything. I had beaten the crap out of my body as a young person. And business, 3/4 inch plywood sheathing and displays. I just beat myself up. So anyway, I'm not going to beat myself up, but we're going to go to a break and we'll be right back.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
The Secret Society Revealed. With your host, Joseph Atwell, author of Caesar's Messiah, The Roman Conspiracy to Invent Jesus, and Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. The groundbreaking discoveries that gives us a new understanding of how governments and elites use mind control to manipulate their subjects. Join Mr. Atwell as he lifts the veils of deceptions of our modern world. Mondays, 12 noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Revolution Radio.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Raven. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back, freedomslips.com, revolution.radio, and Haggy Shack. Oh, don't forget we're listener supported. So go to the homepage and do the donate click. Get the seed packs, the archives. Help us out. Keep us on air. Y'all know the system. We're not just digging holes and carrying water. Or is that what it is?
Yeah, my radio show carrying stones and digging holes.
There you go.
on Revolution Radio, Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week we're going to have a really awesome guest that is going to talk to us about seeds. He is a sacred seed guy.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so he's going to tell us a lot of amazing things that you will just never hear about seeds. And Janie said that I don't know which one it is, but he assists and works with one of the 13 grandmothers, the native grandmothers, in seed saving. So I suspect that means that he works with her on
an etherical level.
Well, it works with her on the native seed saving, right? So that they have areas where all these seeds are stored.
Right.
So that if native people need them in other areas, they can get the seeds, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, so he's going to be on Saturday, so we're really looking forward to him. And we'll be, so that's what's happening.
Sweet. Yeah, I would love to have a big, real plot of land for a garden.
Yeah, well, this year I'm hoping I will know after like the second week in May, but I may be building a food forest for a family down in Sacramento on an open 4-acre parcel.
Cool.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of handymen around.
Yeah, well, and I can't wait to actually design it because I want to design it without water. You know,
Zero-scaping, yeah.
No, just make it into a food forest, and how I build it, you know, digging out in the dirt and where I put up mounds and stuff, it'll collect all the water naturally, so we don't have to water it all. So it can live for hundreds and hundreds of years.
There you go.
Without, you know, a lot of management or care. So that's going to be what the focus is. Because I want to plant a lot of, you know, nut trees and fruit trees in the little food forest.
Because around here they were doing controlled burns on Mount Pisgah, which is one of the biggest range mountains here in North Carolina and Asheville area. And I could smell the smoke for 2 days, and all I could think of is the poor creatures, and that they don't realize how they're really disrupting the whole ecosystem.
Oh! So, yeah. So what day was it? Maybe it was Monday. So NPR had, I think it was called TED Radio Talks, NPR. You know, I'm not a big fan of National Public Radio anymore because they are lying-ass news.
Okay.
But they do have some exceptional shows on there. So the guy who is the host did a whole thing around the environment. And there was a guy on there who had been collecting sounds of natural environments since like the 70s. And he could tell when he went into an area to record sounds of the environment that something would have drastically changed. And he said that it didn't have to be a lot that would change it. For example, when the Air Force started, you know, practicing with their jets going back and forth over Yosemite National Forest, it greatly reduced the sounds of all of the different, you know, beings in that forest.
Aww.
You know, causes stress.
Right.
You know, birds can have heart attacks. Sonic booms can kill people, you know, because it just stops the heart. A lot of it has to do with the frequency, the duration, you know, all these different things. And this guy proved that even in forests, okay, so say they want to go in and they don't want to, you know, fully log the forest, but they want a selective log, which they say isn't going to harm the forest at all. Well, this guy proved, because he has so many recordings of what the forests all over sounded like before anything ever happened to him. And in some cases, he's been allowed to go into areas and record all of the noises from all the insects, the microbes, the birds, the bats, everything. And he's been able to go in and record before they started to do the selected thing. And then after a while, come back and see if it had rehabilitated itself. And he said it never does. Once even like just a couple trees or whatever is removed, those trees and whatever else were part of that system.
Right, the family.
And so, yeah, so when the parts of the system are removed, there's like holes in it, right? So that nothing ever really operates the same again.
Well, but we can change it, don't you think? We can nurture it somehow to refix itself. I mean, we live in a vibrational universe. There's probably so much out there we don't realize the power
it's
we
going to take
have.
one person at a time. You know, like I've heard stuff like, and I'm not poo-pooing it and I'm not discounting it. Mushrooms can have massive effects on areas. Just planting mushrooms or, you know, cultivating mushrooms in your yard can go, I mean, they eat chemtrails, heavy metals, and radiation. But there's like a lot of people talking about technology, you know, when the money systems finally change, which should be hopefully any minute before the earth is completely destroyed. But, you know, that they will have these sprays, these microbial sprays that they can, you know, put on large land masses that can start to, you know, clean up the environment. And they have these microbes that they can put into the oceans to eat up all the chemicals and radioactive material as well. But this is the problem. We know that in any kind of monoculture situation, you know, like we have a monomicrobe, you know, this selective microbe that's doing all this work, you know, they can run amok. And do we really know what they can do to other life forms?
Right.
You know, what if they do such a good job cleaning up that when they get into the bodies of animals, they start to clean up the bodies so well that they literally kill the animal or the human?
A new kind of cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that it's all of our responsibility at this point in time to cultivate, you know, whatever we can in our own yard.
Well, it's actually stimulating the system that you have to rejuvenate itself, right?
Yeah. And so as you work with it, I mean, and there's lots of components to this. I mean, there's you having a relationship to everything in your yard, right? Which means that as it gets healthier, you get healthier because you have a hands-on relationship with it. As it gets more microbial rich, your body gets more microbial rich, and it can fight against things like allergies and cancers and all kinds of different things. Because, you know, your environment, you make your environment what you want it to be, and then it can protect you. It can make you well.
Right. I believe
but we have to, I think a lot of it has to be, we have to really change our mindset from that's my yard out there and my property that I own to that out there is a reflection of what's going on inside my body and my mind.
Right.
And here I am spraying fertilizers on this grass because I want my grass to look like the best grass in the neighborhood. Well, you know what? Maybe you should take a look at what you're projecting, that you're perfect, right? You want people to see you as your perfect grass in perfection, but it's complete poison.
Right. Oh, yeah, I've seen lakes and creeks and all kinds of things die from that runoff, that the true green crap that they spray on their lawn.
Well, the biggest environmental, chemtrails and Fukushima and nuclear radiation are the largest killers now. But let's just say the food supply with Monsanto's. But okay, let's say the fourth largest killer is all the stuff that they use on golf courses.
Oh, jeez.
It's pure 100% poison, and people go out there and walk on it and hit it and walk on it for miles, right? And that moisture that comes up off of it with the heat is poisons that you're breathing in, and the runoff that goes into the rivers and stuff like that. Like the fertilizers are super poisonous, super unbelievable. I mean, this is the thing. How do you think that they can get those golf courses to grow in the desert in sand?
I know, right?
Awesome. It's like
geoengineering.
Yeah. And it's all poison. You know, it's stuff that we shouldn't even get within a mile of.
Yep. And then who knows what it's going to do when it interacts with what else is coming out of the sky.
Well, that's the thing. Then you have a mixed chemical cocktail of who knows what the heck is, what it's going to be.
There was this chemical I read about last week, tryptophan or something like that. And it's in all your antibacterial, your hand soaps, your stuff.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And just with the moisture, like if you put it in your dishwasher, this is soap, and you inhale that, you could end up in cardiac arrest. Do they tell anybody this on the label? I doubt it.
The thing is, first, it makes you antibiotic resistant.
Oh, geez.
By using it, like especially the ones where you wash your hands and stuff like that, right?
All the time. Like it's only affecting your hands. Like we don't absorb things through our skin.
Yeah, people don't think that we do. Yeah. Except for we can absorb up to a liter of water through our skin a day.
Oh, neat.
That's why, taking a shower with chlorine and fluoride, is going to make you sick. Even if, you're not drinking it from your tap water, it's cleaned out. But the other thing, too, is about a lot of these, chemicals or whatever industrial stuff. All of it's industrial stuff. I mean, the regular Dawn dishwashing detergent, those have industrial degreasers in them. We should never use those in our environment. They should never be used in our water supply. They should never be used, but under supervision where the people can actually get rid of them and put them into wherever they put them into where it's going to be safe.
Right.
So everything, and, so much stuff off gases. So the thing is, like, if you absorb it and it's poisonous, then if you breathe it in, it's going to be poisonous. If it's going to affect you on all levels because everything that you have is eliminatory organs. Your lungs are eliminating organs, right? Just like your colon eliminates. Your lungs can, throw stuff out and absorb stuff in. I love, when I think about like when this planet had like a shield around it, they're not sure if it was ice or whatever else when it was a giant greenhouse, and that they believe that people lived off breathing pollen.
Interesting.
And there are scientists that are starting to think about that because it's the lungs eat, digest, and eliminate.
Right.
Just like a stomach. So our skin does that. Our skin is the largest eliminatory organ. That's why people should never wear deodorant. They should never wear perfume. They should never put lotion on their body and block their body's ability to actually sweat. Or there's also grease. It can release like fats and stuff like that.
Right.
As well. So it does a lot of things to get rid of stuff. The one product that kind of shocks me, one of the products that shocks me the most, I mean, in most baby products, we have, I have to tell people because people don't realize that Vaseline is gasoline.
Right, petroleum.
Yeah. And, they have a lot of petroleum products that they put in a lot of mainstream baby products. All that stuff lowers your white blood cell count, which means your body cannot fight anything off, and you'll be like chronically sick if you use it. And people love to put, baby oil on themselves or on their babies, and it's like you just bathe them in poisonous, non-refined oil that came out of the ground. And that stuff, they don't refine it. They don't clean all of the toxic, radioactive, heavy mineral poisons out of that oil before it's sent to these companies. It doesn't say filtered,
right?
Oil on it, does it? So
not to my knowledge, no.
It's pure poison.
Ugh.
So the other thing too that really freaks me out is they have ethanols, which are made from GMOs. Ethanol, corn is gas is in your gas pump. So you get to spray that. You get to breathe that in when you're pumping your gas, right? And the fuel, it's not refined. The poisons are not taken out of it. So
they add more.
And in Iraq, because of all the depleted uranium, they were saying 6 years ago that pregnant women in the U.S. should not pump their own gas because it's going to have depleted uranium in it.
Jeez.
And that the women don't want to get any of that on them or breathe that stuff in on top of the GMO ethanol corn, fuel that they put in it. So you can breathe that in as well.
And they could have just done hemp.
So that a lot of the products that they put on children and people have ethanols in them. They kind of changed the word a little bit, but if you look them up online, you'll see that they are ethanols, that they are a gas or, an unleaded fuel, because you could use it in unleaded kink, that are in your products, but it's pure poison from the GMO plants, and most of it is from corn. So the other big thing that people should really super be aware of, that really, I'm going to tell this story, but I had a friend of mine that came and stayed with me. She had been living in a house in San Francisco, and they had, instead of chiseling the lead paint off the walls, they had some douchebag, well, obviously this contractor isn't going to be working very long, because when you sand lead paint down and breathe it in, you will have serious brain damage.
Right.
And major mental retardation of the serious kind. But anyway, so she moved into a house where the people use sanders to sand down some of the lead paint inside. And even though it looked like it had been cleaned up and repainted, within 2 weeks, she could not even get out of bed.
Oh, wow.
And so she ended up having to go through chelation, which chelation, can be used to strip out things out of the blood and the body that don't belong. Heavy, metals. I think it works really good, like on things like lead, aluminum. I don't know if they use it on mercury. They may. But they use a product. It has a long name. It's probably 48 letter long name. But the abbreviation is EDTA. And so what they do is they put the EDTA into the IV, and it goes through your system, and it actually, pulls heavy metals, and sometimes it can pull all the iron out of your system, just lots of things. But it's one of those things that you only use in desperation.
Right.
It's not something that you want to use all the time. Well, I don't know how long EDTA has been on the market, but it's slowly encroaching into the mainstream. Like, you go to Trader Joe's, and almost every soap, hand wash, beauty product that they have has EDTA in it. You'll see it in the abbreviated form, EDTA, listed as an ingredient. So now they use it as a preservative. But if you put it on your body, it's leaching out minerals. It's leaching out all these things in your system, right?
Other effers. Oh my gosh.
Then she said, when she was staying with me, she said, so she can't have, because she's had a lot of exposure to EDTA, and a lot of people who have chemical sensitivity out there that can't deal with smells or things in their environment have probably had some kind of at some point we're using a lot of products and maybe eating a lot of food that had EDTA in it, because once you get to a certain level with EDTA, there's a line that you just can't cross anymore. You can't go out where there's a lot of smells, where there's lots of perfumes or lotions.
Right.
And in some cases you'll get chemical burns. You'll get like burn rashes on your hands, around your mouth, in your mouth, on your face. And these are induced I call them EDTA burns, and they are just like hot burns.
Whoa.
They have less blistering. And so anyway, so when she was here, she said, I have to know that, whatever I'm eating has no EDTA in it. And I don't have any, access in the environment with EDTA, she said, because I could get burns really easily. Even if she just uses some soap, because she had the big stripping of this lead out of her system with EDTA and chelation. And they put too much in, so she has, extra bad reactions to EDTA in the environment. Anyway, so I was on the phone for 2 hours trying to find a place that I could take her to eat. Because, so most of these restaurants, and Panda, last time I ate at Panda, I had burns around my lips.
Whoa.
At first, the first couple of days, I thought I was pretty dehydrated. But then I realized, that I had eaten there. And so I don't eat there anymore. So big restaurants, usually their main warehouse will chop all the vegetables. They put it in EDTA water, which can make a chopped vegetable look brand new 2 weeks later.
Oh, whoa.
Then they ship it, right, in the EDTA water or whatever else, and then they get to the different restaurants. So we were
no nutritional value whatsoever.
Well, and it can start stripping any kind of nutritional value you have in your body.
Right.
That's what it does. It's a stripping.
Well, does it have a shelf life, or is that for...
No, it's probably like long time. I mean, in a product like a soap or a shampoo, I mean, it's going to be in there until that shampoo's thrown away.
No, I meant in the food.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's bad no matter what.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but
But they won't tell the public. This is the thing. And so one of the places we called was like Papa Murphy's to see if we could just get a pizza, minus a whole bunch of stuff. And I was asking him, like, is there anywhere where we can go on your websites where we can see the actual preservatives and listings, in the food that is being used? And they're like, well, I think there's some nutritional places you can go. And I was like, no. I want to know about the products that you use in your business. Like what you would use on the fruits and vegetables, what was used on them before, you got your cookie dough to sell there. Like, where did that come from? What was in it? What company made that? Where did you buy the products?
Right, boy.
And so it turned out to be like this really horrible thing when I realized, like, she couldn't really eat anything in the public because she could go to the hospital. She could literally 6 hours after she ate stuff with EDTA in it, her whole mouth would swell up. She could go into anaphylactic shock.
Mm-hmm.
Her whole throat, because they would get burns and stuff on it, pretty heavy inflammation. So, we just did, we just cooked at my house and just really made sure that, everything that we bought.
What was it again? What?
EDTA.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it. It has like this super long name. Here it is. Ethylene diaminteractic acid. It says a chemical used for both industrial and medical purposes. Been around since 1935. And then you can look, it says EDTA uses, side effects, interaction, and dosage warning. And that's on WebMD. They're actually got a warning on it, which is rare. Anyway. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty bad stuff. You just got to watch that stuff.
Did you post it in my thing?
Oh, yeah. Here, let me post a couple of things that you got going on here. Here's one. EDTA Skin Deep Cosmetic Base.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it says agent used to sequester and decrease the reactivity of metal ions that may be present in a product. Doesn't sound good, does it? They were trying to reduce the toxins in it before we sell it to you as a toxic product.
I don't think there's any product that isn't toxic.
Well, I mean, other than the ones you make yourself, right?
Well, true, but you can't even find the basic ingredients because they have to add other things to it before you can purchase it.
Yeah. No, that's totally true.
Oh, I know. Since the 80s. When I had my herbal business, I was going to do all kinds of soaps and things like that, but nope. They had to add these other ingredients. I'm like, why can't I just buy the basic fat? Because they were just going to start introducing, like, aspartame. And, we've all come up to where all we're eating is industrial waste.
Exactly. No, that's exactly They can't get rid of it, and so in a lot of cases, they actually put it in our water supply, our food supplies. They spray it over us. You know, there has been stuff that's been included about that, you know, a lot of environmental waste products are being sprayed in the chemtrails as well. So because where are they going to put them? No other country has any space for it. I mean, China just came out 2 weeks ago and told the U.S. that, you know, we could keep our garbage because we've been shipping tons of ships of garbage over to China.
Oh, I thought we just always dumped it in the Atlantic.
Well, you know, I think it's full now, so, you know, we have to ship it to other countries.
Sad.
Yeah, no, it's totally sad. And this is the thing is, you know, everybody, they're just kind of like we were
asleep.
Well, but it's hereditary asleep, right? They have one drive to make money, have a house, get a mortgage, 2.5 kids, a fence around their little property, you know, everything looking perfect. Their, you know, amazing lawn, their Christmas decorations on the outside, their tree with all their Christmas presents underneath it. You know, it's just everything, and I think, commercial.
Well, yeah, promos. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
What the heck is the truth, Jihad? Hey, I'm Kevin Barrett, host of Truth Jihad Radio. Federal prosecutors, Department of Homeland Security agents, and curious passersby often ask me, just what is this truth jihad thing anyway? Well, everybody knows what truth is, but jihad is a misunderstood term. Jihad means effort or struggle. The greater jihad is the struggle to be a better person, while the lesser jihad is the struggle to defend the community. Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, did say that the best jihad is a word of truth flung in the face of a tyrant. And that's what we do here at Truth Jihad Radio. Every Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 7 Pacific, right here on Revolution Radio.
We talk about decentralization and bank annihilation. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Moneycoin, Yourcoin, blockchain, baby. Mondays at 1600 hours Eastern, Studio A.
Find some comfort at Willow's World. A variety of news, commentary and poetry at Willow's Poetry Corner, where there are comfy cushions and a tempting selection of delectable comestibles. A show that's quirkily and quintessentially British, with a unique twist featuring Willow Andreasen, your host. Join Willow, Monday, 6 to 8 p.m. EST, Studio B.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
I almost forgot to unclick. We're back.
We're back. So I was looking for, because I'm, sometimes I get, Miss Doom and Gloomer, which is fine. I'm used to it by now. And I do have breakdowns periodically. I just want people to know out there that yesterday I was watching a video on SGT YouTube show. They usually deal in a lot of monetary economic stuff, but the guy did a video on the he said on the video that, I think I sent it to you, that he did not really want to post a video on it right away because he couldn't believe that it was real. And it took him a while to wake up, even though he's a really conscious guy, to wake up to the fact that it was real. And the 18,000 children have had their organs harvested from Syria. And it's really easy to pick them off because they get separated from their families. And then he showed a video at the very end that was pretty disturbing of how they rounded up a little girl, telling her, like, hey, your parents are over here. And then they put her on a table with a blood tray underneath her and it showed on the video the bodies of other little children that just had their organs removed in bags. So there are days like yesterday when after I watched all that, I need to figure out, what I'm going to do with it. And I don't avoid the bad. I don't bury my head in the sand because it's doom and gloom. I mean, the fact that we are allowing any country or anybody to harvest children and basically, take their organs while they're alive and body bag them and allow like this not to be discussion, means if you aren't thinking about this and you aren't doing something about it, means that you are
a part
really
of it.
effed up.
Well, and the whole thing
and the world isn't going to be okay.
No, at all. No matter how secret it seems, there's an etheric impression, and no wonder people are depressed.
Well, this is the bottom line, is that we have all these Christian belief systems that cover everything up. People will say to me, oh, it'll be okay. No, it's not.
What?
Because it's not okay.
How is that okay?
Well, I'm talking about chemtrails and everything. Like, you try to talk to people about anything that's going on right now, because literally it's hell on earth. And people need to kind of get like more proactive about what's going on.
At least to let themselves become strong enough to say, you don't want this for your family, your children, and become more selfish and not want to be suicided.
Yeah.
And paying for it on top of it.
Well, that's the thing, is they make you pay for everything that kills you. I mean, people pay for fluoride in their water, on their water bill.
The chlorine, yeah.
I know. Okay, so one of the things that people can do, and you don't have to do, specialty mushrooms, but I see like a little thing here, is plant some mushrooms in your yard. Like, plant some mushrooms in your lawn. I'm going to put this in little Mona's doodad right here.
Okay. Well, and I'll put it in chat.
You don't have to, get specialty mushrooms, but cultivate them. You're going to need to water them, right? Mushrooms need to be watered because they're, like a microbe. If they get dry, they're not going to do a whole lot of work for you. they die, actually. You don't want to kill them. So when you're living in places like Nevada, maybe you can have a little area where, you have some compost and different things, and you can throw different species of mushrooms out there. Maybe find, some different ones that you can grow, and make sure you get the ones that are non-poisonous, so that, if they do grow really well, you can actually eat them and make them for medicines, because most amazing, especially Asian mushrooms, can cure respiratory problems. Hello, people in the chemtrail cough. Hello, people in your dogs and their chemtrail cough. You could make your own medicinal mushrooms to help with the respiratory stuff. You can put them in your food, and they'll eat up a lot of bad stuff in your soil. They'll eat up all those old pesticides and also
now,
those
if
old
they've even
fertilizers we
grown
sprayed.
from it, Bridget, would you want to eat them if that's what their business was cleaning stuff out?
I don't. Well, that's what all mushrooms business is.
So it wouldn't really matter. Okay.
No.
Can I tell you a great story that I saw long time ago?
Yeah.
The Orientals were trying to figure out how to feed their nation, right? Well, they grew corn in a desert by placing plastic on the ground and letting the corn be watered by the sun and the condensation of the plastic. Yes, I know there's ingredients that could be harmful, but then again, this is what was going on. So, they harvest the corn. They fed the people the corn. They took all the shuckings and everything else and stuffed it into plastic bags and threw spores in them. Threw them in a cave. Well, probably placed them gently, whatever, but you know what I mean. Put them in a cave. Months later, they come back. There's more food from the fungus eating the garbage of the corn. All from a desert. So they double fed people. Oh, did I lose you?
No, I was just listening.
That was it. It was just amazing what they did in a desert.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I always have people, because I live in Nevada. And when I would go to Rudolph's, one time when I went to the soil class for my biodynamic certification at Rudolph Steiner College, and everybody there was from California because, it was in Sacramento. And it's sad that the Steiner College is no longer there. It closed up last May. It was like a gem.
Well, they don't want anybody to know how to handle taking care of themselves.
Well, it was there for 30 years. It's just, it didn't make money for the whole campus. You know what I mean? They had just a lot of struggles. But anyway, so here I come in. They have their little soils in a jar. And some people had really good soil. They lived more in the foresty areas in Northern California. So they had something that was like brown, that if you put water in it would mash together, Right. And here I come with my jar of, sand. And so the joke always became, I had to pull a Jesus Christ. I had, instead of walk on water, I had to turn sand into soil.
Okay.
So, but there are so many amazing things that you can do, like, the Asians with that desert, to create food.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to use all the resources that you have around you. And you can collect a lot of stuff out of the desert, like, dead sagebrush and just all kinds of different things, and start making, like composting. Or I've been working with this idea, these compost holes. Because, if you have animals and you get a lot of rain and they poop, eventually that sand will be soil, right? Because of all the green poopy on there and the water, and it mixes it all up and turns it into dirt and soil. But if you don't have that and it's really dry, then it doesn't get, the manure and stuff, poopy doesn't get mashed into the ground. So I've kind of started working on this idea of taking compost that I've made into, say, an acre of sand in someone's backyard, and then digging holes that are 3 feet deep and thin, and then putting all the compost into these holes, then covering it, with sand. Mm-hmm. So then water will stay in there a little bit more. It'll lose the water less, so it'll last more. And then all those microbes in that compost can start moving out. And my compost usually always has a lot of mushrooms in it. So I'd also be, planting a lot of mycelium as well.
Neat.
And then allow it, like a year or so to see what happens and allow it to fix itself from the inside out. But I haven't got to try it yet. It's kind of a research that I'm doing.
Well, it sounds like your garden coming up.
Yeah. I think, you've talked to Lenny. He's cultivating mushrooms where he's living. He sent me pictures of, he's got like wood and he's got this area. It looks like he waters them.
Well, nature does it, I think. He does. I don't think that he tends to it. I think he just walks up and finds them.
Well, he does, but then he's bringing them to this one location on the property.
Oh, cool.
So he's kind of like, I believe he's working on like a little bit of cultivation.
Well, why not?
Yeah, because, he lives, where there are a lot of mushrooms. But yeah, plant mushrooms. If you don't know what else to do to save the planet, plant some mushrooms in your yard and your lawn.
And they're supposed to even call rain. Supposedly the spores call rain, like they're asking for the moisture.
Well, I'll tell you a story about Victor Schallenberger. Victor Schallenberger was one of Rudolf Steiner's really good friends. That's why in biodynamic farming we have flow forms, right? We are the designers of flow forms. The ones that we have for agricultural use that, structure our water for our farms. So Victor Schallenberger was the one that really started first looking at water and how water really works, which is contrary or kind of almost the direct opposite of what we're told in science to this day. So Victor Schallenberger, and I don't know, I'm going to call it around the turn of the century, 1900, somewhere in there, probably before he was kidnapped by Adolf Hitler and forced to make the first UFO prototype.
Wow. Yeah.
So Victor Schallenberger, and I don't remember exactly what country it is. I just remember the facts of the study because this is one of the things I studied when I was at Steiner College. Anyway, so he went back then when you traveled somewhere and you were like a premier scientist or doctor or whatever being brought, then you would have a long-term stay. They'd probably give you a house, a place where you could do your studies and research. And so Victor Schallenberger had a long stay there. And I don't know if it was like Denmark or some country like that. It was a long one and it had a north and a south. But anyway, so what happened was like the king of the country, contacted Victor Schallenberger and said, look, we got some serious problems in the south part of our country. All of a sudden now we have like drought, the land is drying up, things are becoming hard to grow, means people aren't getting food. It's a serious problem and we don't know what has happened. So, can you come? So Victor Schallenberger goes there and does this really long study. And what he finds is that the south of the country started using metal for plowing and shovels. They went from wood. A lot of the shovels and hand tools were all wood, and the plow blades were wood. And what he found was that because the south of the country went to using the metal, it was cooking the soil as it would go through.
Whoa.
And it was cooking it enough that it was killing the microbes, the mycelium, and other natural things that
you need for the habitat. Yeah.
Yeah, you need for the soil, for the food. So anyway, so Victor Schallenberger started doing a whole bunch of studies that correlated the microbes in the soil to the relationship with the water. And so if the microbes were beat up or killed in the soil, they didn't have a relationship to the water in the air. So they lost their ability to communicate that, that area needed water. It was time to water. And so he did a lot of scientific studies that showed that is fact. That when you destroy the soil, it loses its relationship with water, which is the water in the sky and rain. And that's why you can't, for example, like here in the West Coast, we had like a drought that was so severe. We didn't have a puddle in the Truckee River. This was like 3 years ago. Then last winter we had a lot of water, but it's all chemically induced. It's all like seeded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? No matter how much they seed it, and to bring water and snow, that doesn't fix the water problem. The water problem is from the soil or from the sand, and those beings not being alive anymore, and that soil being sterile because it doesn't have a direct relationship with the sky. And this other thing too is Native people knew all this. That's why everything was equal. Everything is my relation.
That's
when they say all my relations, everything is my family. And I can't live without that little microbe and mycelium in that soil. So I better take care of it. I better talk to it. I better have a relationship with it to keep it going. But we, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, we have to learn better respect and how to be responsible.
Responsible is big.
Oh, yeah.
And that includes with what's in people's yards.
Right.
What they put in their mouth, how they spend their money. I have friends all the time, and I'll say, hey, well, I don't buy organic food. And it's like, okay, so you don't support any of your local farmers.
Right.
Okay, how do you expect them to stay afloat? How do you expect them to continue to cure the soil? How do you expect them to keep the earth alive so that there's at least a patch of non-sterile environment?
Yeah, no.
Because you can't give any of your animals, not even your dogs, you can't give them vaccines and let them shed off their viruses and in the water and the soil. You can't inject your cows. You can't give them antibiotics because as soon as they poop or pee-pee in that one spot, now it's contaminated. It's no longer organic.
Right.
So it's a whole other method. I'm not saying all organic is ideal. Some of it's monoculture, which is a serious problem for me.
What do you mean?
Well, like they'll have a whole organic orchard, but that's it. You may have enough beehives, to deal with those flowers, but then the bees are only eating, one kind of pollen, which is not good for them. And usually they don't have a diversity, which means that they will bring in, organic fertilizers, but they have to bring in more of that kind of stuff into the farm area to be used instead of, if you had a diversified farm, then you wouldn't have to do any of that, right?
Right. Yeah, I believe in the Three Sisters system. Exactly.
Yeah, it would be one giant living organism. So it just like we were talking about eliminatory organs on our body, they take in and they give out. That would be your whole living organism, like on a full-scale farm. That's what I'm hoping in the future, that I'm going to be doing is combat veteran, full-scale biodynamic farms and building them, from top to bottom and having 7 combat veterans come and learn on the land for 2 years and take them through every part of full restoration of land on every level.
Right, that'd be fun, actually.
Including up in the forests, and and I'm, there's some really exciting things that I'm really excited about trying that I've read about and seen, like, for example, getting more of the wilder hogs for our food supply, but having them plow areas. So, you move into an area and it's a forest area where, has thick needles and all this other stuff. Well, you let them root around, they can dig up like 6 feet of dirt underneath, and they'll clean out all the old bugs. They'll clean out a lot of the stuff that's really not good, and they integrate and dig in all these elements that have been sitting at the top.
And their poo fertilizes along the way.
Yeah, no. And then they're good to eat too, and they're living in an environment that they're really going to like.
Right. Yes.
And so, things like that, like I can't wait to work with the environment in those kinds of ways where I'm stewarding it, but I'm allowing my relations, pigs, to come in and manage, the rototilling,
I love it.
Yeah, and then move them around and then eventually plant more and more things in the habitat that they like to
eat. But the critters will do it too.
Yeah. No, it's a whole system. Once we get the pigs moving everything around, like I'm pulling some weeds out of this old garden bed to try to help, get it back up and going. And all of a sudden, the blue jays noticed me. And they all because they love those worms. And there's tons of bad worms. I started noticing. I was pulling a lot of the weeds, and there's some bad worms in the soil I don't really like. So it was interesting. They started flying in and looking at me, and I started talking to them. And then I thought, a lot of them came all of a sudden. And I thought, well, I'm going to go inside now, and I'm going to let them pick through what I've dug up,
right?
To eat dead bugs out of it for me, and then I'll go back out there and dig up another area.
Mm-hmm.
And just allowing everybody to do the job that they're good at.
Exactly. That sounds like too much fun. I love it.
I know. So I'm like super excited about getting, working on these lands and being able to benefit like huge, large areas.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, eventually before I die, there's this killer documentary. If anybody out there gets a chance to see it, you can watch it on Top Documentaries for free. I think there's even a free version on YouTube, but it's called Green Gold. And it is there are about 3 documentaries that are kind of more older school, but that I just love. One of them is Green Gold. The other one is, I think, Garbage Warrior, where he builds the bioships, there in Taos, New Mexico.
Oh.
And he reuses garbage and stuff. You should watch that documentary. But Green Gold is one of my all-time favorite because these people working on large-scale kind of permaculture ideas, philosophies. So there's scaling of the property. There's different planting as you develop a forest. And this guy, he literally takes huge desert areas, mountains that are complete desert, like nothing living on them, and a whole lower part that's huge areas. And he goes in and he takes heavy equipment. He has people scale them, rebuild them, rebuild the structures. And then they start planting them. And within 5 years, water comes back to the area. Not only does water come back to the area, but it's starting to turn into a utopia. And there's tons of stuff to eat. And so all these animals start to come to that area. And then it starts to pool water. And you literally start getting waterfalls and all kinds of stuff coming back. And so it is the most amazing. And I tell people who watch it, if it doesn't make your jaw drop to the ground and hit the ground, what else could, just totally rehabitat and rebuild something that's been completely decimated and destroyed.
Yeah. We don't have enough time left that we shouldn't get started now. We should have been started 20-some years ago.
Mushrooms in your yard. Oh, and then there's this other really good, Earth First, I think is what it's called on Top Documentaries. And it is about, it's like my top 3 is Green Gold, the Earth First architectural, about building mud homes all over the world. Beautiful.
Some of the Cobb stuff is amazing.
Well, you should see some of these big buildings in Iran and Iraq that are gorgeous, made of mud. Top Documentaries, and what was the other one? Oh, Garbage Warrior are like my top 3 of all time. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's called Earth First. Let me just look it up.
Go ahead, take your time.
Earth First.
I really wish so. I wish people thought more about the Earth. In that way that we just...
Okay, so it's on topdocumentaryfilms.com. Free. You may watch it. They have tons of amazing documentaries. And this is one of my top favorite. It's called First Earth, Uncompromising Ecology and Architecture. Here, let me see if I can give these to Mona and she can post them for you guys.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would do that.
My top 3. Whoop, there it goes. Let me see if I can get the other ones up. And then we want to do Garbage Warrior. Not only does he build these Garbage Warrior.
Well, one person's garbage is another person's treasure.
Well, he builds these houses out of tires and stuff at the bottom.
Oh, I don't like tires, though.
Well, but you have to see the whole thing.
I mean, for what I've seen, what they could do with hempcrete and glass bottles, oh my gosh.
Well, he uses stuff like that. He also uses, he uses whatever people have in countries because,
right.
when they have major disaster, they have tons of garbage. So how do we reuse all of this garbage into housing.
Mm-hmm. Tires.
The thing about the bioships, they're 100%. You don't need a heater and you don't need an air conditioner at all.
Neat.
Because they barely change 1 degree. And these, even the ones that are at 8,500 feet elevation outside of Taos. Okay, here's this one. And they grow bananas and stuff inside in the atrium.
I love it.
I know. So they grow citrus at 8,500 feet.
That's what I wanted to do with domes. Geodesic domes.
What's the other one? Oh, green gold. Okay, did you get those 2?
I got the 2 so far.
She's putting up my 3 favorite all-time.
Oh, it comes up empty for the garbage warrior.
Oh, well, we'll find another one. I'm sure you could probably, here's green gold. This is like one of my top favorite of all time. Let me look for another garbage warrior one. All right, here we go. There's that one. That one looks good. Let me see.
Click.
I know, yeah, because I'm trying to.
So how many shows have you done so far?
Oh, my own shows? I don't know, 4.
Neat.
Yeah. So let's see. There's a couple things on here. Here's one. Oh, here's Mike Reynolds' Earthship Bio. Anyway, so this...
My page just went stupid on me. Oh.
I don't know if... I'm going to post this link because at least it's something for the garbage warrior. But this is something they can watch, but I'm just trying to see if I can find another link. I think this is, the Link documentary. Here's another one it looks like. But anyway, hold on a second. I got noise too. I'll get rid of that. Okay, maybe a couple of these will work.
Right, but people look it up too also.
Yeah, and at least this kind of gets you started. Like, you start watching documentaries like this and it starts to change your mind in that hereditary...
Yeah, I had somebody actually say to me today that we're overpopulated. I about had an argument with this person. Well, thank you for joining me, Bridgette. That was fun.
Bye, Mona.
Everybody come back Saturday, 1 p.m. Studio A, digging holes and...
No, carrying stones and digging holes.
There you go. Thank you.
Bye.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message. Thank you for listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Any commercial advertising you may hear in this program is of the sole discretion and benefit of the host of whose program you are listening to. Revolution Radio does not endorse any commercial products, nor does it accept monetary compensation for on-air advertising of commercial products, nor will it ever. We are and shall remain 100% listener supported. Any product advertising on this program are considered used at buyer risk, and Revolution Radio shall not be held liable for any claims or damages received from any product advertised within this program. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The blood is filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination. causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution. Radio. Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-to